Hello, everybody. Speedway Report is produced and broadcast by the Zeus Radio Network for Racers Reunion Radio. Well, USAC's Indiana Sprint Week wraps up and crowns a champion. Kyle Busch ties a legitimate NASCAR statistic. In 2018, I got to wonder, why do some websites provide less information to their fans than those that matter? I don't get this. All this and more. Welcome to Speedway Report for Monday, July the 30th, 2018. From the shores of Lake Norman in Race City, USA, Mooresville, North Carolina, I'm Patrick Reynolds, and thank you for joining us, the fastest half hour in racing. Midsummer, lots of heat, lots of action, burning up the asphalt and the dirt. Let's get right to it with the Speedway Report Victory Lane Lap. Give you all the results of who won what over another busy summer weekend. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Tour was in the Tricky Triangle in Pocono, Pennsylvania. It was won by Kyle Busch. Yeah, KB won it, but there's a whole lot more to the story than that. Take a dive into that in a little bit later. The Xfinity cars were out in Iowa on Saturday. Christopher Bell won again. This was his third win in a row, and the first time a series regular has done that since Dale Earnhardt Jr. did it back in 1999. The trucks were also at Pocono, and, well, KB started off his weekend sweeping that. Now, when he won the truck race on Saturday, this tied him with Ron Hornaday for the all-time Truck Series win lead. They both have 51 wins in the series. That's legit, not hashtag fake news. That is legit news. 51 wins in the Truck Series is comparable to Ron Hornaday's 51 wins in the Truck Series. Lumping Kyle Busch's Cup wins, Xfinity wins, and Truck wins is not a legitimate comparison to Richard Petty's 200 wins in Cup. So those that are jumping on board, just knock that right off. NASCAR's K&N Pro Series East and West Tours ran a combination race Saturday in Iowa. Tyler Ankrum took the checkered flag on Saturday night. Big one for him as he took the win up at Thompson, Connecticut in the East Series a few weeks ago. Now, the Indy cars ran in mid-Ohio at one of the favorite road courses in the United States, one of the best ones, I think, the Mid-Ohio Sports Car course. Alexander Rossi, really nifty, used a two-stop strategy to win this race when most others were on a three-stopper. He drove the wheels off this thing at the end of the fuel stints that he was running with those tires. There was not a whole lot of grip. He was actually yelling to his crew that the strategy will not work because he was hanging on for dear life with the grip level that was not left in the tires that he had at the end of the fuel stints. But they did it. They coached him right through it. 2 stops and a checkered flag at Mid-Ohio for Alexander Rossi. In Formula One at the Hungarian Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton won over Sebastian Vettel. Hamilton now holds a 24-point lead over Vettel in the Drivers' Championship. And for the American fans, Haas cars both scored points in the top 10. Kevin Magnussen in 7th, and Romain Grosjean took a nice 10th. So, you know, Kannapolis, North Carolina, certainly home to United States Formula One racing. Then NHRA Tour was out in Sonoma, California. They hosted NASCAR Cup Series back in June. NHRA had the top billing this past weekend. In Top Fuel, Blake Alexander scored his second win of the season. Robert Hight won in Funny Car. Jake Coughlin Jr. in Pro Stock, and L.E. Tonglet won in Pro Stock Motorcycle. Hopping over to the dirt, the World of Outlaw late models raced last Tuesday in Davenport, Iowa. Chad Simpson, took the checkered flag in a big race in Fairbury, Illinois on Saturday night. Devin Moran won on the quarter-mile dirt oval, but to the tune of $30,000 for the 100-lap win. World of Outlaw sprints were up in the northeast section of the U.S. in Plattsburgh, New York last Wednesday. They got rained out. Plattsburgh, remember them on pavement, and that old track from when I was a kid. That event canceled, will not be will not be made up. However, on Friday night, they raced at Ransomville, New York. Connecticut native David Gravel won the A-Main. And last night in Weedsport, New York, Brett Marks was your winner for the sprint cars. ARCA cars were in Pocono on Friday, late afternoon, early evening. Zane Smith won the race. It was rain shortened. They ran 33 of the 60 laps. USAC Sprints concluded Indiana Sprint Week, one of their marquee points on their calendar all year long. We'll take you back last Tuesday night at Kokomo. Thomas Messerall won the feature. Wednesday night at Terre Haute, Tyler Courtney was your winner. Thursday in Putnamville, Dave Darland won. On Friday in Bloomington, it was C.J. Leary. Saturday night in Hobstadt, Dave Darland, a name I didn't mention in any of those checkered flags, but Chris Wyndham is your 2018 Indiana Sprint Week champion with the point totals. Saturday night in Grandview, Pennsylvania, Rain Swinehart won the small block modified NASCAR, small block modified on dirt. Yeah, they raced dirt all season long. And Bowman Gray Stadium, the home track here for Speedway Report in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. The NASCAR Modifieds split twin 25s. Tim Brown and Joseph Brown were your winners. No relation, but a lot of history with both families and teams at the Madhouse. Okay, let's talk about, all kinds of stuff that happened over the weekend. Let's talk about technical inspection here, shall we? We had an issue on it. This has been rearing its ugly head more and more often. It just keeps coming back on the Cup Series, the tech inspection. When we think we've got a handle on this thing, it's a non-issue. It pops up again and becomes a headlining story. 13 cars did not pass tech inspection on Saturday after qualifying. First of all, a little background on what they're doing here. Pocono was what they call the shortened weekend. In other words, it was a 2-day show for the Cup Series instead of the traditional 3-day show. They've been experimenting, NASCAR has, with this system for a couple of years now to try to build a race weekend and yet at the same time save teams money. An extra day at the racetrack costs a lot of money. So what they're doing in the 2-day shows is that the Cup cars do not go through tech before qualifying on Saturday, only after qualifying on Saturday. They go first before practice. You can't get on the track until your car passes tech. And then in the 3-day shows, they used to go back through tech again before qualifying. Now they go straight to qualifying and have to pass tech post-qualifying. And if you get snagged, you get snagged. Well, 13 cars got DQ'd in Pocono qualifying, including 2 of the Trinity, Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick. They wound up starting, I think, 28th and 29th in the field. Pocono and Kevin Harvick pretty much had the car to beat before he got had some contact, got turned around, came from the back all the way up. I think he was a 4th place finisher there. Kyle Busch obviously won the 400-mile race yesterday from his 9th starting position. So the 2 of them are fast enough. They've been 2 of the fastest cars all year, and they showed it because their qualifying times were disallowed on Saturday afternoon. They went to the back with all the other DQ'd cars, so it wasn't a dead last start for either one of them. That moved Daniel Suarez up to the pole position for the race. These 2 sliced through the field, hot knife through butter. The cliche was appropriate here. I think Harvick took, like 10 laps to get into the top 10 or maybe less, something 8 laps, whatever it was, from his position, because he's clearly one of, if not the best car there week to week. But I'm looking at this, and the fact that Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick and all these teams did not pass qualifying tech, I understand the process for a shortened weekend, so it's after qualifying as opposed to beforehand, and they DQ these guys for their time. Well, good. They didn't pass tech. They should disqualify them. But in a track, sometimes it's, like Pocono, not a big deal to start in the back and come to the front. It's pretty hard to get lapped there, so it wasn't that critical of a situation, especially for these 2 teams. Kind of shook itself out normally. But your qualifying time is disallowed in a world where less than 40 cars are showing up for the 40 positions. It's not that big of a disadvantage for these good teams like that. They're feel free to push the envelope and get caught. The punishment for it certainly justifies the crime, in my mind. If you get it through tech and you've got an advantage, okay, great, no problem. You got one over on the officials, and if they don't catch it, you're that much further ahead of the game. But even if they do catch it, put these guys to the back, it's well worth the risk. Now, my question, this comes up, one of our rotating topics on this show is, why don't we do this during the race too? Post-race tech. I'd love to see some disqualifications post-race tech. I think that's what NASCAR ought to do. I wish they would. This leaving the track knowing who won the race and then later hearing that, the winner or whoever in the top 5 failed post-race inspection, I don't believe I saw who won the race. It doesn't make sense to me. I wonder as a race fan, I wonder what in the world did I just see if NASCAR lets them keep the win. I have not been in favor of that. You leave the track knowing who won, but that's great. But if you find out they failed tech inspection after the fact and they allowed to keep the win, that really blows the ethics out of the sport to me. Never mind the chase and the playoffs. I'm not going into that tonight as far as ethics goes, but we should be doing that during the race or after the race, excuse me. Sunday night when these cars are going through tech and they don't pass tech inspection following the race, I say DQ them then too. Always have, always will. We've done that in short track racing for what, ever, as far as I know. As opposed to the points fine, the money fine, we should be taking the win away. Put these guys 40th. That will get their attention. No money, no points, and you're thrown out. I like that. But you keep the win with a monetary fine or points fine or the playoff points, which I'll admit I don't follow or care about playoff points. I just don't get it anyway. Again, another playoff topic. But we should be doing – we did it in qualifying. So why don't we do that during the race? Doesn't NASCAR want the fans to leave on Saturday knowing who won the pole position in time trials? But we wanted the fans to leave on Sunday knowing who won the race. Well, they left the track Saturday thinking somebody else was on the pole instead of Daniel Suarez. By the way, tip of the hat to Suarez for a heck of a run on Sunday. Impressed me quite a bit. Inherited the pole, yeah, but still was credited with it because he passed tech inspection and then ran near the front all day long. I was kind of thinking that he may drop through the field because it's one fast qualifying lap is one thing, but putting 400 miles together is another animal altogether. Joe Gibbs Racing did well with Suarez there. But back to tech inspection, I'm in favor of disqualifying folks. When you run tech inspection Sunday night, hand the win and the trophy to the first guy that passes tech. I am 100% for that. I grew up with that on Saturday night stuff. I think we should do it on Sunday afternoon. Now, it's a big enough slap in the face where you lose tech inspection and all that money and the prestige and the PR aspect of it with your sponsors and team that it'll fix itself really quick. You have a problem with these cars going through tech inspection? We obviously do because 13 failed after qualifying. You want to get somebody's attention? Throw these guys out after a race. All these teams will bring tech inspection in real quick when you start taking wins away, points, all the money away. You don't get paid at all. You don't get any points at all. You don't get the win. The black eye in the public eye, even mainstream media that don't cover racing would pick up that story. Oh, tech inspection would not be a problem within a couple of weeks. It would just happen smooth as silk if you start taking wins and top 5s and top 10s away from these guys that you're teching. We do it on Saturday night. We absolutely should be doing it Sunday afternoon in the Cup Series. Let's talk a little bit now about some information. I'm just surprised that in this day and age with the electronic media, which so much is available on our phones and at our fingertips, literally, that when we go to certain websites for certain tracks, they don't even have information about their own stuff, but link us to another page. On Sunday afternoon, I was looking for the winners of the Bowman Gray Stadium on Saturday night. And on Sunday afternoon, I had to go to the Winston-Salem Journal's website. There was no information on the website. Now, Bowman Gray Stadium doesn't need to have a full-length report yet, but they should at least have the results. Maybe like winners were this, and we list them. And then the rundown of who was what should be there as well. Even worse, the NASCAR home track site. I was not in Iowa for the K&N East and West combo race, so I went to NASCAR home tracks on Sunday to find out who won. There is a link there from the K&N Series site to the results from Iowa. The link takes me to another website, racingreference.com. This blows my mind. Are you kidding me? NASCAR itself, NASCAR home tracks, doesn't even have the results listed on their own site. It sends you to racingreference.com. That boggles my mind at how poorly the sport is run when we're looking at websites like this, and they don't even carry the results on their own site, but just link you to another site that archives the racing history. It's NASCAR, for crying out loud. Not even a Saturday night short track of some sort. Not even a homemade website. This is NASCAR Home Track's website, and it sends you to racingreference.com just to find out who won the race on Saturday night in the K&N series in Iowa. I couldn't believe what I saw. I can't. It's just, I'm speechless that NASCAR, with the clout that they have and the money they have, can't even come up with the home track stuff. It's sad. It's very sad. And sticking with this theme, I've got an email today. I like the people involved, but there's a series and some folks that were doing some promotion for an upcoming race, a big race in their series. And I got the press release on the series. Got it, read it, learned all about the upcoming event. And yet nowhere in the press release was the date of the race. I'll say this again. I learned all about an upcoming race, but nowhere in the press release was the date. I knew the series. I knew the tracks. I knew special guests that were coming. I knew all kinds of activities, but nowhere was the date of the race. I couldn't tell if it was tonight or 5 years from now or somewhere in between. So public relations folks, if you are sending me stuff, which a lot of you do, and I appreciate that, but if you're going to talk about a race and how big it is, put the date of the race in there. Something just basic and simple as that. So, I was a little disappointed in the electronic media over the weekend, just trying to get information for the show here, and as well as other race fans that look up what's going on in the world. Not everybody can be in Iowa. Not everybody can be in Winston-Salem. But your website for the series, the track, whatnot, should have basic information there for any race fan. I'm not going to hunt for info, but I know where to go for it. If it's not there, it's not there. I'm moving on. I'm not even going to stick around and look and click on this and that. It should be there pretty easily and able to grab. Big thanks. Is Bubba Wallace's crash the hardest crash we've seen in a while? An impact, one single brutal impact? Yeah. We've seen them before down in turn 1 at Pocono. I want to say, around 15 years ago, Kenny Schrader had a bad one with BAM Racing. Dale Earnhardt had one in turn 1. Tim Richmond did. Lake Speed, Greg Sachs, Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon. We've seen these major wrecks. That front stretch at Pocono was so long. It's like 3/4 of a mile. And then when you have a problem in turn 1, that wall is sticking you in the face. And I was thrilled to have Bubba Wallace get out of that car okay. That was the kind of crash that makes you, kind of wince a little bit and hope for the best real quick. But that uneasy feeling comes out of your stomach and into your throat. And when he lowered the window net, I'm going to echo the thoughts I've heard so many times today. He dropped the net. Big sigh of relief went through the entire auto racing world because that was a big, big crash. Did you know that everybody's instinct to jerk that wheel to the left as a race car driver, you want to send it to the infield? Bubba had that big brake failure coming down the front stretch before he got to turn 1. Not that I would think to do this, but everybody thought about it later, including Bubba. If he had turned that car to the right and got that right side of the car into the wall and just crashed it on the front stretch, he'd have more gently rode that wall through turns 1, much better and a lot less violent of an impact. He could have just ridden that around. Still would have been bad, but not as bad as it was, as opposed to when he went through the left, through the grass, back up on the racetrack, and thank goodness it didn't nose into that wall. It went to a sideways stance, and actually the right rear of the car hit that hit that first. So good to see Bubba. Man, I've been around the sport long enough where I've seen a lot of bad things happen with a lot worse, with a lot less impact. So I'm thrilled to be seeing racing in this day and age with the safety innovations that we have in motorsports. News to share, sad news, Mason Mitchell Motorsports, ARCA champs from a few years ago, right here in Mooresville, has shut down operations. They're no longer racing. We've had Mason on this show before. I had some of the those ARCA guys on the show over the years. Tough to see another race team close down, especially here in Mooresville, which it is racing is such part of the infrastructure and a big part of our economy. A couple of drives, we talked about Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick went to the front, started 28th and 29th. Busch won the race. Harvick wound up 4th at Pocono. Heck of a run, too. I'm going to recognize Sebastian Bourdais. Did not set a qualifying time in Mid-Ohio in the IndyCar race. Started dead last, 24th. Raced all the way up to 6th in an IndyCar on a road course. Lewis Hamilton, a few weeks ago, started 15th, made his way to the win. You can't pass in motorsports. I think you can if you're the right driver in the right car. There's not enough passing. Well, the fast guys are starting up front anyway with qualifying. Maybe we do need to do a little Saturday night field invert or something like that, because you can pass if your car is good enough and your driver is good enough. We've seen that. Sebastian Bourdais, Lewis Hamilton, and Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, 4 of the best that you will see in professional motorsports currently racing. It's a privilege to watch them, and they both authored some spectacular drives. Bourdais, Harvick, and Busch yesterday, and Hamilton 1 week ago in the Grand Prix. So that's some cool driving, especially on a road course. Pocono is kind of like a road course. Heck of a drive on an oval for those guys. Good drive on Mid-Ohio and in Formula One. Folks, in between our broadcasts, keep up in the world of auto racing with SpeedwayReport.com. This broadcast and all of our past shows are uploaded onto the site. We also have plenty of racing articles to read. You can catch our past episodes there. So head on over to our Facebook page. Speedway Report with Patrick Reynolds and Racers Reunion have stored videos. On Twitter at Speedway Report and at Speedway Pat. You can catch all the past episodes. RacersReunion.com has our shows in the forum, and SpeedwayReport.com. Head on over to the website. If you are connected to me on Google+, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and our new YouTube channel, you can find all of Speedway Reports there. I want a big thanks to everyone joining us on the Facebook live feed. Appreciate your conversation during the show. Get back to you guys in a little bit. Go see a race at a track near you. Those grassroots ovals, drag strips, and road courses are the foundation of the auto racing world. So please, this weekend, don't only sit in front of your television set, but on your Friday and Saturday night, head on out to your local track, wherever it is. Go take in a race at a track near you. I want to thank all of the military past and present for the freedoms we enjoy as Americans in our daily life, including the simple things like bench racing, right here on a Monday evening. Freedom is not free, and a veteran paid that bill for us. To all of the men and women who are defending freedom and watching Speedway Report, take care of yourselves and come home soon. A special salute to the teachers, school staff, firefighters, police officers, and paramedics in our own communities. They are quiet and modest heroes every single day. God bless and thank you. You have been watching Speedway Report from the shores of Lake Norman in Race City, USA, Mooresville, North Carolina. Please like our Facebook page, Speedway Report with Patrick Reynolds, and follow me on Twitter at Speedway Pat. On the Drag Racing List Facebook page next is Racing and Rockin' with Draglist.com. Bill, John, and Barb will all be there with your drag racing news and some real cool music. So click on Facebook and head on over to Drag Racing List. We will be back here live on Facebook next week, Monday, August the 6th, where they look at NHRA's Northwest Nationals from Washington, NASCAR Cup in Watkins Glen, IMSA at Road America, short tracks, and a whole lot more. Thank you all for joining us. I will see you next time.